the trough lighting. So ignore my piece over here. That's not the one you're going to receive. And you're just going to pull the playfield out like this, take off the two screws that are holding the apron on, and then the apron just slides forward and comes off. The actual piece that you're going to receive is something that looks like this, and you'll have a plug on it just like the backboard, which has an arrow. And this plug, which is pretty self-explanatory as well, this whole piece only fits on here one direction. It's molded to fit right along the back of the metal plate here that captures the ball and drops it in the trough there. So the red stuff on there is VHT tape. It's very sticky from 3M. It's applied obviously to the plastic. You remove the red covering and you'll stick it all along there. The tape is pretty adhesive, but the nice thing about it is that it can be removed. It just pulls off. It doesn't really permanently adhere to most surfaces, so that's a nice thing. As you can see, this plastic sort of conforms to everything here, and so you'll want to peel the tape off and then just sort of start with one end and get it aligned properly and stuck on, and then you can continue around. There are little notches that fit where the screws are, so you should be able to get this guy down behind every screw and up against there. All right, like that. And then this little brace just comes off the back here to support the loop of wires that connects both of the LED strips. So that's pretty much how you stick that guy on. This wire easily will just go down this hole right here, and you'll get to figure out here the best mounting point also for the LED wireless controller box. You have maybe about 6 inches of play in this of where you can mount that guy. I'm going to suggest mounting it under the playfield right over here, and basically you'll open the coin door to get to the IR receiver on this guy. So you just put the remote into the coin door and you'll be able to adjust this. So that is how the IR receivers will be kept separate. Since the remote will control both of them, you can point one at the backboard when you want to change the backboard lighting, and then one in the coin door up at the underside of the apron of the machine, and you can change the trough lighting. There is possibility of mounting that box up here and having the IR emitter mounted somewhere over here on the wood and pointing forward, and maybe you can get to it from pointing the remote back towards the trough from in front of from the middle of the game. So that's a possibility as well. Yeah, you'll just want to see what works best for you. One of those two options is generally good for that mount. You could also, the IR emitter could be pointing over this way, and you could hit the remote from over here. It's pretty reactive. You don't have to have like a perfect line of sight. The IR signal will bounce around a little bit and find it if it's tucked away a little bit. There will be some clips included again with your kit. This is the one I used originally that's screwed into the playfield. Yours will just stick on and you can hold the wires in place. It's good to just have a little stress relief so the wires aren't getting tugged on. You could also put that clip under the playfield and have the wires given a little slack there. So obviously, just like with the backboard, you'll take that little box, you'll plug in the 4-pin connector, and you'll mount the box, get the IR emitter pointing the place you want it to go, and of course this will be mounted as well. Then you'll take the cable, which is very similar to the backboard lighting cable, just much longer. That will plug in to the white box with that DC connector, and you'll either run it through that hole, or your box will be mounted underneath and it will already be under there. So then you're going to take your playfield and raise it up and you're going to run that wire all the way back around under the playfield to the front of the machine. And I'll give you an idea of how that routes. So there's the underside of the trough and apron on the game, and your box will be mounted up there somewhere, and you'll have that red and black wire coming down. And you can sort of see mine. I have the RGB wire coming out that way, but yours will be the red and black wire, and it can sort of follow that same path. It's going to go down through this loom and join the big loom of wires, which is secured all along the playfield here. And you'll just zip tie once you run all the wires. I wouldn't zip tie right away. You could do like maybe one zip tie up here just to hold it in place, but you're going to want to bundle it along with all the spotlight wires, which you can see my red connectors right there for the spotlights. So it's going to run all those wires are going to get grouped together and run down this harness. Down, you can see that RGB wire there, which will also be the black and white wire. And it's going to go down and along the cable sleeve, the wire sleeve there. You can try to run it in the sleeve. I did not have a lot of success with that. It was too hard to feed it through. So I just zip tied it around the sleeve to the bottom of it. You could also cut all the zip ties that are on the sleeve and slide it in the slit. So it would be fully encased. I needed to fit this thing and remove it and add it back in a few times, so I just put it on the outside. But your big zip ties that we include will replace the ones that are on the slitted cable wrap, or will just be in addition to those and hold it to the outside. So you'll run that wire, and you're going to group it along with all the spotlight wires, which will be the next step in the process, and you're going to run them all along that black slitted cable wrap. And you can run it about halfway with the playfield up, and then you'll put the playfield down and all the way forward, and then you can run it along the rest of it. Basically, if you can watch my finger, it goes along the back there, and you'll just come around with all the wires that exit that tube and follow along and down the right side of the left side of the game there, just like the wire from the backboard lighting. So that's the running of that. I would zip tie them eventually when you get them all run, maybe every foot or so, depending on what's there, and just sort of try to give a little bit of slack, don't pull too tight on them, and just have them run neatly along all of that length there. So that's the trough lighting. Next we'll look at the spotlights.